Bali Regional Secretary proposal for imprisonment sanctions for foreign tourist levies is just a discourse. And the DPRD chairman agrees with the moratorium, but needs to pay attention to civil rights of the community. Stay tuned for details on these stories and more. Selamat siang. Welcome to the latest news from Bali in Indonesia. This is September 11th, 2024, and my name is Bruce. And what is the weather like today? Hot. 29.5 degrees Celsius, 69% humidity, wind speed 12.4 kilometers per hour. And we did have a little bit of rain yesterday, maybe 5 minutes worth of rain. So, weather is still pretty good. Right now, it is another lovely day, but as I said, a little hot. I hope the weather is fine wherever you are, and if you're here in Bali, well, I hope you're having a good time. Okay, there is a lot to talk about today, and as usual, I'm doing some multiple videos all at one time because it is just easier to film once and then edit day by day. And so, first, we're going to talk about Bali Regional Secretary. Proposal for imprisonment sanctions for foreign tourist levies is just a discourse. So this has been talked about online because it was suggested, well, thrown up in the air that maybe tourists would be fined excessively for not paying the tourist tax or even put in jail. And so let's see what the Bali Regional Secretary has to say about that. Bali Regional Secretary Dewa Made Indra said that the proposal by acting governor of Bali regarding sanctions for foreign tourists who do not pay levies is still a plan. It's just a discourse, he said. We are taking inventory of everything. What ideas are needed to perfect regional regulations. The regional secretary acknowledged that the discourse on revision did exist, but all proposals would be discussed within the Bali DPRD, especially proposals of the acting governor, which would lead to criminal sanctions. He said this will be discussed later. Regional regulations for the implementation of sanctions requires discussion with related parties because we're talking about sanctions, especially those that lead to criminal sanctions. Then the discussion will require a longer time. The plan is that the discourse on imposing sanctions will be discussed in 2025 because the Bali DPRD for this period has just been inaugurated. In addition to imprisonment, the idea of providing incentives for parties who help the Bali provincial government collect the foreign tourist tax of $150,000 per visit has also emerged. He continued, many parties want to help with this, but cooperation means providing assistance on one side and getting benefits on the other. After identifying the proposals for revising the foreign tourist tax regulations, discussions will be held. So far, the Bali provincial government has seen that tourists do not pay levies due to a lack of information or the role of travel agents. Therefore, cooperation is considered important. Apart from travel agents, there are also tourism industry players who manage accommodations or destinations with whom they can collaborate. Once again, this still needs strengthening because it's new. Then the next reason might also be because there are no sanctions. But is that so? Because as far as we know, foreign tourists from developed countries are very law-abiding. Some of them are. That's why sanctions are not included in the original regional regulation, because we assume positively that the achievement is not yet optimal. This is an ongoing process. As previously reported, the acting governor submitted the proposal to apply sanctions to foreign tourists who do not pay the tax. He said, if there are no sanctions now, we can't do anything if they don't pay. In the future, there will be a minor criminal sanction of at least 10 times the penalty or a week in prison. They will definitely pay. Wow. I guess if you're going to spend 10 days in prison, you would pay up. The acting governor conveyed this to the members of HIPME Bali, this is Young Entrepreneurs Association, because a number of these young entrepreneur members were elected as legislative members of the Bali DPRD. The acting governor asked HIPME members who are on the council to help him with his mission to speed up the revision of foreign tourist levies so that sanctions are included. Because the regulation has no sanctions, the regulation is considered trivial. So I hope that Hit Me friends who sit in the council will speed up the revision of the regulation of foreign tourist levies. In addition to the proposed sanctions, the acting governor also encouraged the provision of incentives for parties who help collect foreign tourist levies as an incentive for more parties to get involved. He assessed that so far, not even half of the tourists have paid the 150,000 rupiah because it was missed at the airport. I guess because they didn't do it at the airport. Meanwhile, the government cannot possibly close the airport door to tourists who have not paid the levy because it has the potential to cause chaos. International flights take 5 to 6 hours. They pay for the VOA queue for how many hours, and immigration, customs, Bali tourism office. How many hours do they have to queue at the airport? They want to feel comfortable in Bali, and suddenly they regret coming. Therefore, providing incentives to parties willing to assist the Bali provincial government in collecting levies outside the airport, such as hotel industry players and tourist attractions, aims to encourage cooperation. So when foreign tourists arrive at the hotel, they can be asked whether they have paid the levy or not. But this is difficult because there are no incentives for them, like the hotels. Therefore, HIPME can accelerate the revision of foreign tourist levies. I hope there can be incentives that help with the levies. That's part of the filter, to filter tourists who come to Bali so that they are tourists who have money in their pockets. Yeah, come with money in your pockets. Okay, so this tourist tax is still an ongoing situation, and it's been around since February, and boy, this turned into a mess, I'm afraid. Are there going to be sanctions like jail time? No way, this is never going to happen. Will there be a fine? That's possible, but 10 times you go from 150,000 to 1.5 million. 1.5 million is 100 US dollars. I don't think that's going to happen either. But you can never tell here. We're just going to have to wait and see. They're talking about 2025 before they get there. So don't panic if you're coming to Bali. And you can pay this foreign tourist tax online. Okay, and another story on the moratorium, right? The moratorium on building hotels and villas. And, well, I hope beach clubs too. And this is ongoing, and there's supposed to be a meeting this week to discuss all these issues with Pak Luhut and Pak Sandiaga Uno and the president and maybe a few other people. So what does the DPRD chairman, he's actually the temporary chairman, what does he say? DPRD chairman agrees with moratorium but needs to pay attention to civil rights of the community. And you knew this was going to come up. The discourse on a moratorium for the development of tourism accommodation in several areas in Bali has received attention from various parties. The temporary chairman of the Badung DPRD spoke out regarding this discourse. According to him, this development restriction should be appreciated, but on the other hand, the policy must also pay attention to the civil rights of community as landowners. We appreciate experts, officials, practitioners who have good intentions to manage Bali and Badung in particular better. I agree here, but the question is, can that view opinion provide justice for all people? The meaning of justice is to provide benefits for both, he said. He said the community has what is called civil rights to land ownership in the agrarian law. He said this moratorium should not be actually used to seize the civil rights of the community so that what happens is injustice. For example, they have land, whether it's for housing, hotels, trade, services, agriculture. That's their right. Then, if there are desires of the government practitioners in the business world who want to limit, my question is, can they provide justice? Because they have full civil rights. Isn't this a deprivation of rights against people who have civil rights according to the agrarian law? He continued, providing justice for the community needs to be discussed further because it could be that the land owned by the community is their only asset. Moreover, if coupled with the condition of not having additional work, then the condition of the community concern will be far from prosperous. Maybe I also have such a desire, the moratorium, but if the community only has that asset, the land, then it must be shackled, not providing justice or providing compensation to the community. Who will be responsible for the welfare of the community? This is what needs to be discussed further. According to him, a win-win solution must be sought in this policy. For example, the government regulates state land. That would be better. This means that the lands that are regulated, such as agricultural land and so on, that belong to the government, are really regulated by the government, and that will provide added value and provide a more optimal justice value, so it does not harm the community. I agree with the government regulating, but don't let the government over-regulate. It will harm the people. In my opinion, in order to regulate the country, buy the people's land first, or give compensation first. Okay, not building, but paid for a year, for example, 100 million rupees. If not, he will make his land productive. If now is the tourist season, he'll build boarding houses, industrial houses, trades, stalls, villas, lodgings, and so on. And so this is an issue. What about people that want to sell their land or lease their land in order to build tourist attractions, tourist residents, beach clubs? If farmers no longer want to farm, and of course this is an issue for the younger generation, how many people in the younger generation want to continue in their father's footsteps and be farmers? And if you've got a chance to suddenly get a bunch of money at one time by leasing or selling your land, it looks good to some people, especially if you are living at the edges of poverty. And so this is a discussion that is going to have to go on when the moratorium issue comes up later this week. And if you're here, you know there are tourists everywhere, just like billions of ants. And Uluwatu tourist attraction targeted at 1.2 million visitors. Wow. The Uluwatu Temple Outer Area Tourist Destination, DTW, which is known for its beautiful cliffs and sea panorama, has experienced a significant spike in the number of visits. In the first semester of this year, the number of visitors has increased by 12% compared to the same period last year. In order to maintain this momentum, the Uluwatu DTW management has set a target of 1.2 million visits by the end of the year. The manager of the Uluwatu Outer Area, Uluwatu, said that visits this year had reached more than 800,000 people, an increase of 12%, as I said, compared to last year. He said he's optimistic that the target of 1.2 can be achieved by the end of the year. He assessed that the increase in visits to DTW Uluwatu has made a significant contribution to Bali tourism. DTW Uluwatu contributes around 35 to 40% of the total tourist visits to Bali. Wow. This increase is considered not only profitable for the management, but also has a positive impact on the local economy. In addition, he believes that the increase in visits also has an impact on other tourist attractions in the surrounding area. And I've heard from social media that traffic in Uluwatu is getting pretty intense. The high level of visits provides great benefits for stakeholders and tourism actors, such as traders, local guides, and art groups, such as the Kecak group. Currently, Pak Wijana said that the visits are dominated by foreign tourists, especially from Australia and India, even contributing around 70% of the total visitors, while 30% are domestic tourists. During the high season, DTW Uluwatu can experience a spike in the number of daily visitors, reaching between 5,500 to 6,000 people per day. One of the key factors in increasing visits is the Kecak performance, which is now held twice a day, namely at 1800 to 1900, and then another performance 1900 to 2000. Although visits before the COVID-19 pandemic had reached 10,000 to 12,000 per day inconsistently, Uluwatu is now showing positive signs of recovery. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, Wijana said the total annual visits could reach 1.7 million to 1.9 million. Hopefully, he said, this number can be realized again. And here is something interesting. Spa manager and receptionist arrested over alleged plus services in Batu, Belig, Bali. The Bali police raided the spa on Jalan Batu, Belig in Kerobokan. The police claimed to have received reports that the spa had plus services, aka prostitution. 3 people were arrested. Is anybody surprised about this? Head of Public Relations of Bali Police said that the Directorate of Criminal Investigation of Bali Police arrested 3 people. 1 was a manager, 2 others receptionists. Today, the spa director was summoned for questioning. His status is as a witness right now. He said that he had installed police lines at the spa. He did not want to comment on the alleged prostitution services at the spa until investigation was completed. From the website, the rates at the spa vary from 1.3 million 1.4 million and 2.6 million. Each package lasts 60 minutes and guests are required to make a deposit starting from 650,000 rupees, 725,000 rupees, and 1.3 million rupees. Tribune Bali journalists tried to check the location of the raided spa, but it was cordoned off by police lines. The spa is located right on the side of the road. So this has been reported in all the local papers. It's a big deal. I don't know why it's such a big deal. It's been known for how many years that there are spas that are related to plus services. But I guess somebody probably complained about it. So thanks for viewing. Be kind to someone today. Stay safe. And I will see you next time.